Hey everyone, it's Jack here, TalkNorwichCity. Welcome back to another video. The day that we didn't want to arrive is here. Josh Sargent set to join Wolfsburg out in Germany in the Bundesliga. A agreed fee looks to be set at around the £21 million mark. That's the fee being reported by Sky Sports News this evening. Rob Dorsett of Sky News. It looks like we are there. It has taken a little while. We're in, the middle of July. Norwich City's pre-season has begun. They're in the Netherlands at the moment. They will play 2 games on Saturday. That's the 19th of July. Josh Sargent has flown out there for those games. Who knows whether he'll play on Saturday. My gut says, without having read anything else, he probably won't be. This looks to be fairly advanced. Wolfsburg and Burnley, they were the 2 potential suitors, and it looks like Wolfsburg are the ones that will stump up the cash. The Pinken were reporting earlier, Norwich City are close to agreeing a £21 million fee with Wolfsburg, and I think it looks to be pretty set in stone. Gutted, to be honest. I think we all knew it was probably coming, and we probably were deluding ourselves into a sense that maybe it wouldn't happen. It was pretty clear that Norwich were willing to let him go if the price was right. We filmed a video about, 2 weeks ago? And I said at the time, and I think it was a story from Paddy Davitt saying that Norwich were kind of valuing him upwards of £16 million. At that time, they were like Roma, Leeds, Burnley, Wolfsburg were in the running then. There was interest from, the States last year. So you had Italy, Germany, England, United States, all clubs from different countries interested in Josh Sargent. And that had been the case for the last couple of seasons. We've been lucky to get a couple more seasons of Championship football out of Josh Sargent than we probably first expected. And it was all just going to be whether the price was right. He had 3 years left on his deal, so it wasn't a restriction on time for Josh Sargent. We had time in our favour. We could negotiate strongly. And I think, they obviously set the bar around the £20 million mark. Wolfsburg looked to have gone just above that. I'm sure the intricacies of how that deal is made up will come out in the coming days. I suspect this one will move quite quickly now. Whether that's, a set fee with add-ons over a certain period of time. It's never just the lump sum in one go. That's not how transfers work. But hopefully it's the majority of that money up front. I think Wolfsburg get a pretty good deal. I think £21 million is about fair. Josh is very much in his prime. He's 25 years old. There are still question marks around Sargent. It's the reason why you won't get north of 20 odd million pounds. He was never going to attract sort of 30 million. He's not proven himself in the top tier of any division, whether that be the Bundesliga or the Premier League, and through no real fault of his own, but that just hasn't happened. He's not proven himself at international level. His injury record over the past couple of seasons has been sketchy, so there are question marks around him. Equally, if you can keep this man fit, he is bound to be a brilliant striker even in the top division of Germany. For Sargent, it kind of makes sense. Look, there's a home World Cup on the horizon for him. He will desperately be wanting to get into that United States team, and that has a far better chance of happening when you're in the top division of a country. Was that going to happen in the Championship? Potentially, like it could have done. But it's far more likely in the Bundesliga. And I think, if we look at this, Norwich had been preparing for someone to come in for Sargent at the suitable level and then for him to move on. They've signed Matthias Kvistgaarden for fairly big money. Ante Cianats was signed last summer for fairly big money, who we know, he knows is a number 9 ultimately. So, 2 big signings in recent transfer windows to I guess, be the kind of story after Josh Sargent, but it doesn't make it any easier to take as a Norwich City fan. We've already sold Borja Science for 15 million. We've sold Sargent, let's call it 20. So you picked up £35 million for two players that cumulatively we paid £8 million for. Sargent was £8 million from Werder Bremen. What was that? 2021. We've had a couple of excellent seasons out of him. The season in the Premier League that we ultimately signed him for probably came too soon. He was the kind of slightly in the shadow of Timu Pukki for a season. So for 2 seasons, he has been the best striker in the Championship. Undoubtedly. I'm not having anyone argue. And even if you do, it's too late now because he's not even a Championship player anymore. You can see there, last season, 33 games, 15 goals, 4 assists. It could have been more. For some of those, he was coming back from injury. Obviously, missed a large portion of the period of the season through injury. 2 seasons in a row, and that really harmed Norwich City's progression. And that kind of shows the importance of Josh Sargent, because when he was out, Norwich City just didn't look as good. But I think ultimately, this happens at a time where you've still got a decent chunk of the transfer window left. It's not like an Adam Eder or a John Rowe where they leave during the season, you're scrambling about and other teams know that you're scrambling about, so they charge a premium. We do have, 3 and a bit weeks to try and find our solution, try and find our replacement, or if we're not trying to find a replacement, to find the system that works with the players we've got at the moment. Now, that is the big question about whether we will go back in the market. I assume that we will. Mark Atanasio was very punchy in his interviews in the fan forum that they are willing to spend. I suspect that Ben Napper and the wider recruitment team with Lee Dunn, etc., have already, compiled a list of Josh Sargent replacements. However, they have, they've got Matej Jurisic back in the mix. He was £6 million. They've got Ante Sienats, who will be raring to go. He was £8 million. You've got Matthias Kvistgaarden, who can play in that position as well. He was £7 million. So there is, there has been investment in those areas. You have, with those 3 alone, got, you would say, a pretty solid front 3 in the Championship, albeit, Jurisic and Kvistgaarden are unproven. You've got Oscar Schwartau. And then other than that, you're probably fairly limited in terms of advanced players. You've got, Fortun and Mankor as well. So you would assume that Norwich will be going back into the market now for a striker, maybe even a winger. I've not seen any names being circulated. I'm sure that they will come to the front of the line now that this deal is done. Well, not done, but looks to be done in the coming days. And then we can start to get excited about who the replacement is. I think Norwich will invest, and they will invest trying to be intelligent with their investment. So you look at the squad, it is a little bit light in that area now. Yes, we've brought in Kvistgaarden. Yes, we've got Matej Jurisic returning, but you would assume that if they do genuinely want to challenge for the title, for the top 6, which I believe the Atanasios do. I don't think they come here to mess about. I think Ben Napper, there's pressure on his shoulders. Liam Manning has gone from a side that's just finished in the playoffs. He wants to go one step further. He wants to get promotion into the Premier League. Josh Sargent would have been an excellent resource to try and achieve those goals, but he's gone. That's, barring a miracle, that's a done deal now. He will be going to Wolfsburg for £20 million. Now it's about finding the correct replacement for him, which is going to be interesting. Before we end the video, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Match Bingo, who have been brilliant on TNC, sponsoring all of our content. They are a brilliant app that combines football and bingo into one great app. They've got some great offers on at the moment. If you deposit £5, you get free £10 in free bets. You can buy 5 cards for the price of 4. They've been brilliant to follow along the Women's Euros for. They'll obviously be back for the Premier League, for the EFL. They were all over the Club World Cup. I know lots of you guys are loving Match Bingo at the moment. The links to download that app and get your free your bets as well will be down in the description below, or the QR code on screen. So get involved with Match Bingo. You've got to be 18 plus. Please do be gamble aware and have some fun over a Match Bingo. Low stakes, lots of fun. What's not to love? So there we go. Josh Sargent, it has been a real delight. 133 games for Norwich City, 48 goals. That's a pretty extraordinary goal-scoring record, considering that a portion of those were in the Premier League, considering that a portion of those were playing out on the wing to try and get through the middle when Pukki was on the kind of final stretch of his Norwich City career. So there we go. I think Norwich will now look to really step up their attempts to bring someone in. I think the Atanasios, I think Ben Napper will throw some money at this now. They've got £35 million of incoming transfer fees without any other sales, and I'm sure there will be some more sales. So it is going to really heat up now. I'm gutted that Sargent's leaving. I really am. I think he would have been. It's one of those where you go, I would love to get another season out of you. We said it with Buendia, didn't we? When your best players are coming to the end, you just go, just give us one more season. Let's just try and get promoted together, Josh. But this is one of those ultimately where I hope Josh Sargent goes on to smash it. I think he's a brilliant professional. He's always kept his head down at Norwich City. He has been the utmost professional throughout his entire career here. He has just knuckled down and come really good. He has become one of, the best number 9 in the Championship by quite some margin. He was pretty close to the top goal scoring position in the league last season and would have certainly got that if he'd stayed fit for the season. I think we get a pretty good deal. You know, we've made at least double our money on Sargent. I think Wolfsburg get a pretty good deal. I think Josh Sargent gets him a move that furthers his career. And it's one of those where you go, fair play. Norwich did well to negotiate that new contract not so long back. That gave them the breathing room in terms to negotiate. It's given them a decent war chest now to go out and try and find more in the transfer window to try and set this squad up nicely as we progress into the start of the new season and hopefully go on to have a really promising season. Josh Sargent, thank you. Good luck in Germany. Back in Germany with Wolfsburg. And there we go. Josh Sargent, £21 million. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. And I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.